Hello, hello, and welcome to this week's Heart to Heart. I'm your host, Karen Del Maestro, health transformation coach, breast cancer, and BRCA2 thriver. And today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects. Because for me, if we were to focus on just this one thing in our life, then this is the thing that makes the difference in every area of your life, right? So if you've ever thought it's just too many things to do, if you've ever felt that you're just so tired and your mood is low and you're feeling angry, especially coming out of this breast cancer experience. Maybe you're feeling like you're not getting your energy back as quick as you want, and you're not getting us back to normal as quick as you want. This is the one thing that I invite you to focus on because it impacts all of the other things. This is like the big umbrella that makes the difference. What are we talking about today? We're talking about self-care. Do not turn me off, please. I want you to listen and I want you to pay attention, because self-care is not just about mani-pedis and massages. And yes, they're wonderful. Who doesn't love them? And yes, they are self-care, but that's not what we're talking about, because true self-care goes way beyond that. Now, I know, and even in my own community, my own tribe, I send out a weekly email called Self-Care Sunday. And I think for so many of us, and let me know in the chat if you're on or you're watching the replay, let me know. Do you tend to just choose one day a week and say, well, that's the day I'm going to focus on doing something for me? That's the one day that I'm going to do a face mask, or I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to take time and read a book, or whatever it might be. But let me know, do you tend to just grant yourself that one day a week where that's what you focus on, or a little bit of that day, right? If we're being honest. Because yes, even though my email, my weekly email is called Self-Care Sunday, self-care is not just reserved for Sundays. And today I'm going to be talking about why. So I'm going to be sharing exactly what self-care is. Might blow your mind a little bit when you know my definition. We're going to be sharing why self-care, when it's implemented correctly, helps you to stay on track with your healthy habits, the ones that you might be struggling with right now, because you're not motivated, because you're not tired. Please don't blame yourself. And please don't judge, right? We're just looking from a place of observation. And then I want you to invite in some curiosity and say, okay, well, what do I do to get to shift this? Because we can. Even though our doctors are telling us there's nothing we can do, our doctors are telling us it's normal to be tired. It's part of your side effects, or it's menopause. I've heard those too. But I've also learned what shifts that and what makes the difference. So make sure that you're hanging around for that. And then I'm also going to be sharing my exact formula. The formula that I follow and that I also teach in Thrivership School, my group coaching program, to help me get through the waves of life. I always say, right, the waves will keep crashing. It's our ability to learn how to surf that makes the difference. Self-care, my friends, is what helps us to surf. Now, to share a recent example from me, and I think this is something that anybody on a breast cancer journey can understand, is that we're not done when we're done, right? There's this misconception that when we're done with active treatment, that we're done with breast cancer. And although I very much wish that that were the truth, it isn't. And especially if, like me, you're high risk and carry a genetic mutation. Because even though I've had a double mastectomy, I'm still at high risk for breast cancer. Even though I've had a hysterectomy, I'm still at high risk for ovarian cancer. Even though I no longer have ovaries, there is still cancer cells that are from the ovaries. I'm at high risk for eye cancer, melanoma, prostate cancer. My journey will never be done. And the reason that I think, even though you may not be high risk, our journey is never done. First of all, the debilitating fatigue that we feel, the trauma that we've been through. 80% of breast cancer survivors deal with PTSD, which you may or may not have realized. And again, self-care is something that can help with that when implemented correctly. But these past couple of weeks, I went through an experience that I know many of you have or will go through at some point in this journey. I think that many of us after breast cancer become what I think of as being hypervigilant, right? We're checking ourselves all the time. We're checking under our arms and our lymph nodes. We're checking our breast and up to our collarbone. Even if we have implants, even if we've had deep, even if, like me, we're flat, right? There's still this hypervigilance over every lump, every bump. If you're feeling off, every headache, there's just this trigger. Oh my gosh, is it okay? And logically, we might be thinking, don't go there, it's okay. But it still triggers this survival response, is what happens. We go into fight or flight in our body. So this happened recently to me. I had found a lump on my rib. It was hard and not movable. And it changed. And so I had an appointment with my oncologist anyway. They checked it and said, okay, let's get you in for a stat ultrasound. Now, I don't know about you, but that word is a trigger for me. It's like, oh my gosh. As soon as they order a test of any kind and it's like stat, that anxiety level starts to rise, right? So the following day, I had an ultrasound. The ultrasound was clear, no sign of any masses or that it appeared to be from that one lump. The oncologist wasn't completely okay with that and said, okay, let's do a CT scan of your chest, Karen. Now, this is the first CT scan that I've had of my chest. Even though I was diagnosed with breast cancer back in 2018, I had a breast MRI at that time. Nobody has taken a look at my full chest since then. That's going to be shifting. And so I was very anxious over that. Again, where the self-care piece comes in. And I'm going to tie this all in for you if you bear with me. But I got the results from the CT scan that said, okay, the lump that I feel doesn't look to be anything, doesn't look to be any cancer in the bone or anything like that. You heave that sigh of relief, right? And then they said, but Karen, there's a nodule in your lung. And there's a couple of lymph nodes that are not normal looking, and they're not where we normally expect any breast cancer metastases to be. Of course, your brain starts going again, right? Then I shared that I'd had COVID and a bad dose of COVID, and they said, well, this nodule in these lymph nodes, it could be cancer. It could also be inflammation, and it could also be infection. And when I shared about my COVID, the doctor said, that is the piece that makes most sense to me, but we're not going to ignore it. And so in middle of May, I'm going to be doing a PET scan to just double check. Now, why am I sharing this? I'm sharing this because I want to share with you how I cope with these waves of life that keep crashing, how I've learned how to surf them. So every time this survival response is triggered, every time this PTSD is triggered, every time I start to feel super anxious and trying to calm that mind down, this is how I do it. This is why, for me, this piece is so crucial to us. And in fact, I will go so far as to say that prior to a breast cancer diagnosis, self-care may have been optional for you. But I truly do believe, with every ounce of who I am, that after breast cancer, self-care is now your non-negotiable, and it needs to be. Because I know that you're fatigued. I know you're hypervigilant. I know that it's easier for you to focus on taking care of everybody else than it is yourself. But if we do that and we're not changing things and how we take care of ourselves, is it helping our risk at all? No, no. Because we're doing exactly what we were doing beforehand. And we're trying to do it and we're exhausted and we're trying to do it, which makes it even tougher on our poor body, right? So I hope this makes sense as to why self-care is so important. Self-care is the thing that helps you keep going when everything else is spinning, when everything else is hard. And we learn to do self-care by doing something every day, not just one day a week. So you're probably thinking, well, Karen, I don't have the time, or I don't have the money, or I don't have the energy. And this is why it's so important to understand what self-care really is. So my definition of self-care is the conscious act that you take to promote your own mental, physical, and emotional health and well-being. Let me repeat that. Self-care is the conscious act you take to promote your mental, emotional, and physical health and well-being. Now, most of us think about the physical, right? We think about eating well or sleeping well or moving our body, those kinds of things. But it's so much more. And what I've learned more and more and more as I've gone through this journey and I've got to really sit into my self-care practices is it's as much this. Because where our mind goes, our energy flows. And so if we can take care of our mind, our mental and emotional state, does it not make sense that it would boost our energy? Yeah. So we can't forget these other pieces of self-care. They're truly, truly, truly important. So now we know what self-care is. I want you to understand how it can impact positively your life. Now, have you ever, think about this, right? Have you ever said, I just wish I had more willpower? Or I just need somebody to hold me accountable to stay on track with that diet, somebody to hold my hand and make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Or maybe it's like, okay, well, I'll walk every day, but I need a buddy because it's too hard for me to do on my own. Have you ever said those things? Or wonder why you didn't have enough willpower to stay on a diet and stick through to the end until you reached your goal? Yeah. After working in health and wellness for 20 plus years, let me tell you, I've heard those things so many times from clients. And I want you to know that number one, there is nothing wrong with you. Nothing. You simply have not yet learned how to prioritize your own health and well-being. Think about that. How much time and energy do you spend every single day taking care of everybody else? In the work, it could be pets, it could be family, kids, grandkids, siblings, aging parents, it could be your spouse, the house, finances. Where is your energy going all day, every day? For most of us, it's not towards us. For most of us, it's external. And how do I know that about you? Because it's part of the cancer personality traits as discovered by Dr. W. Douglas Brody. And so if that is part of the cancer personality traits, wouldn't it make sense that that is something that needs to shift if we want to help lower our risk? You betcha. You betcha. So it's so important to learn to implement self-care correctly, the right kind of self-care in the right way, mentally, physically, and emotionally, to help get your energy back. And here's the thing. Because when you do this the right way, you actually have more energy to take care of others. That's the thing. But I think so often, and I know this was my thought before I started to do this. And I've now been practicing self-care this way and digging in deeper and deeper and deeper for over the past 10 years. Really, it has changed my life. It changes my clients' lives. It changes our students' lives in Thrivership School within 3 months. Within 3 months, people are starting to have a different awareness to change how they think about things, how they start to prioritize their needs and wants without feeling guilty or selfish. Because they're seeing within 3 weeks that when they do that for themselves, they're showing up differently. Think about it. How do you show up in your relationships with your nearest and dearest right now when you're exhausted? Are you snapping at them? I tend to isolate if I'm feeling that way. I go into what I call my cave. It's one of my survival mode mechanisms, right? I isolate and I remove myself. And for me, it doesn't look like a literal cave, but it's going into my bedroom, having my snuggliest blanket, having a cup of tea, and binge watching something on Netflix. Is that me connecting and improving my relationships? No. And it's not how I want to show up. But when that happens, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen, I'm not perfect, right? I still get triggered. I still get these survival mode responses when I'm triggered and I find a lump and I'm like, okay, I need, or I get news, like I need a couple of hours. Now, for me, that's a couple of hours. For you, it might be days or weeks or months that you're isolating, that you're removing yourself from life. Maybe you've isolated yourself from your significant other or your friends because what you're going through just feels so big and exhausting. And I mean, let's be honest, it's really hard for anybody else to get it. Right? So, self care, a conscious act you take to promote your mental, physical, and emotional health and well being, when implemented correctly, actually gives you more energy to show up for others. And not only that, it gives you the energy and the focus to say that you matter, that you matter. And when you can come to that, and what I teach you in Thrivership School is Karen's formula for thriving, Karins, formula for thriving. The R is respect your needs and wants. That's the 3rd month in Thrivership School. Respect your needs and wants. We cannot, and this is why it's been so hard for you to stay on track with things that you know that you ought to be doing. So again, know that there's nothing wrong with you, right? You just haven't learned this formula yet. If we want to respect our needs and wants, we have to know who we are first, which most of us don't. And especially after we go through a trauma, right? So K, know who you are. A, get real and honest about what's working in your life and what isn't. And then when we get to R, we get to choose something that you want to improve in your life and we get to make it happen. But we can't stay on track with our healthy habits, with things that we know are important for us to be doing, unless we know these things. That's why so often you set out with good intentions and you've got a goal and you're going gangbusters, and then life happens. One of those waves comes crashing and it throws you off course. And it's really hard to pull yourself back on course, right? Yeah. That's what this formula teaches you. It's what I do every single day to pull myself back on track when life happens, when I find a lump, when there's something going on in the family, when there's something big going on in the world that feels overwhelming and scary, when there's uncertainty, when there's fear. It all comes back when you feel overwhelmed. It all comes back to taking care of you first. And I teach you how to do it in Thrivership School without without feeling guilty or like you're being selfish. Because, like I've said, when you do this properly, you actually have more energy for your loved ones. You're showing up in those relationships. So instead of isolating or like feeling impatient with everybody, you're actually showing up, like laughing, having conversations, being involved, versus just sitting on the sidelines of a life that you fought for. And I know that's not the life you want. But something has to change. We can't keep doing what we've always done, because otherwise our result is going to be the same. Makes sense, right? When we think of it that way. So my exact formula that I teach in Thriveship School, the exact formula that I follow when I'm super stressed out. People say to me all the time, Karen, how are you so calm even though you're going through these scares? Well, because I practice what I teach. I practice taking care of me. When everything out there feels big and overwhelming and scary, I'm like, what can I control? Oh, I can control me. I can take care of me. And if that feels selfish to you, then okay, you're welcome to your opinion. I know it works for me. I know it works for the hundreds of women that I've taught it to. And especially for these women who are going through Thriveship School, because their results are so quick. And the shift in how they're looking at themselves in their own lives is so quick. So quick. So in Thriveship School, you learn Karen's formula for thriving. Know who you are. Ask what's working and what isn't. Respect your needs and wants. Identify the thoughts inside. These are the thoughts, these are our beliefs about life, about ourselves. And they're complex. They're complex. But these are the beliefs that are running the show that don't need to run the show, that are throwing you off course, that is stopping you from reaching your goals. So no becomes an easy word to say. Setting those boundaries is one of those things that is probably one of the biggest life changers, right? Setting boundaries easily without feeling guilty, without feeling like you're being mean or rude or disrespectful, because I know that's not you and it's not me either. But no becomes an easy word to say when you know how to do it, when you've got the scripts, when you know how to deal with the pushback, all of those things. And then finally, S, self-care becomes your non-negotiable. It may have been optional prior to your diagnosis, but it isn't now. It needs to be your non-negotiable. You need to learn how to take better care of you so that you can be there for everybody else, so that you can be there for your life, so that you understand that you matter. And let me tell you, your loved ones want you here. And I know it's not easy, and I know that things can be really tough at times. And trust me, like I said, I'm not immune to these waves, right? This is now the second time I've had a pretty major scare. And I know I'm not alone in that. I know I'm not the only one that goes through this journey. That's why I share it. You may not know, I'm actually an introvert. And what I've learned through sharing these stories about my breast cancer journey is it's when I'm sharing the real stuff that I hear from so many people, that I connect with you, because I want you to know that you're not alone. I want you to know that this journey is not linear, and it's complicated, and it's challenging, and it's why we need the support from people who get it. From people who get it. Now, I've already got 3 people signed up for a March 1st class. The maximum is 10. I only take 10 at a time because I want that intimacy. I want to truly be able to serve you and give you what you need. On this 6 or 12-month journey, you get to choose. But if you're interested in learning more, if what I'm saying is resonating with you, right? If if you feel like I'm somebody that you connect with, and that's important too, right? It's like when you go to find a therapist, it's like some click, some don't. If I'm somebody, and I don't take it personally if I'm not, but I'm not everybody's cup of tea, right? And that's okay. But if what I'm saying is resonating with you, if you feel that my energy is the right thing for you, if what I'm saying is you're like, hmm, there's that feeling in your gut, there's just that feeling in your gut. This is something that I need to do. And I want to invite you to message me on Instagram at Karen Dell, Karen with an I, KARINDEL 34. Follow me, send me a message. We can chat. Or wherever you're watching this video, I put a link to set up a complimentary call with me, 45 minutes, right? For us to chat, for us to see where you are, where you want to go, what's getting in the way, and whether Thrivership School and me are the right ones to get you there. If it is a good fit, I will extend an invitation, one that you can say no to if you want, and one that you can say yes to if you feel like it's a good fit. But I invite you to think, if you're just focusing on self-care one day a week, what are you doing for the other 6 days to take care of you so that you can be here for that life, so that you have more energy, so that you're involved in your conversations and participating in family occasions versus sitting on the sidelines? Because I know that fatigue, the pain, the anguish, the hot flashes, like all of those things. But I also know how to calm your mind, shift your focus so that you've got less pain or energy and you're involved. You're involved in enjoying the life that you did a lot to get here for. Now, I just want to answer one of the other questions that I get asked all the time, and that is, Karen, is Thrivership School just for breast cancer survivors? And the answer is no. It is especially for breast cancer survivors. But we have some students in there who've been through other trauma, other major events in their life, because they know they want to learn how to surf the waves. They want to learn how I manage to bounce back and better after every trauma that I've been through. They want to learn my formula, and I don't hold back in there. I share everything, right? All of my insider tips and tricks. And they get coaching when they're stuck. It truly is. I know I get passionate about it. It's because it's my heart. That program is my heart. The women who come in are my heart. They're amazing. And I would really love, if it's a good fit, for you to be part of this amazing journey and choose to thrive, right? Why just survive? Choose to thrive. And yes, I can't stop the waves of life from happening. I can't stop the scares. I can't stop, what goes on in our family or in the world or any of those things. But I can teach you how to take care of yourself through it so that your health is not affected, so that your relationships are not as affected. It's pretty cool when we learn how to do this, because we can actually achieve any goal that we set our mind to when we start to focus on our needs and wants without feeling bad about it. And your doctors may even have said to you, you need to take better care of yourself. Well, that's your indication that this might be the good program for you. So whether you've been through breast cancer, whether you've been through other trauma in your life, if what I am saying is resonating with you, either send me a message on Instagram or click the link around this video and set up a time to talk. If it's not right for you, I'll tell you, don't worry. And I can probably come up with other options too, whether that's with me or other professionals that I have a huge network with. Okay, so the big thing here is there's one decision that you get to make today. And that's deciding if you matter enough to take the courage to set up a call. I know it takes courage. I know it's not easy. I know it's hard to move out of your comfort zone. And here's something I've learned: change is uncomfortable, but staying stuck is worse. Staying where you are today is worse than the discomfort of setting up a call. Because as soon as you do, you're in my tribe, and then you are supported, whether it's through Thrivership School, the Facebook group, or other programs. You've got support. You're no longer on your own. So what are you going to do today? You're going to decide, do you matter? Do you matter in your life? What do you want from your life? And that's a big question, and you may not have the answer to that. I'm going to help you in Thrivership School to figure that one out. Okay. Self-care may have been optional before your diagnosis. Self-care is now your non-negotiable. If you want to stay healthy, if you want more energy, if you want to improve your relationships, if you want to play the leading role in your life without feeling selfish, without feeling guilty, it's time. It's time. It's never the perfect time. I'll tell you that now. And again, that's why it takes courage, right, to book that call. It's no obligation. It's a chat. Just you and me over Zoom. Now go ahead. Go ahead. Decide that you matter. I know you matter already. You need to just decide that you matter and that you want life to be different. You're done. You're done with it being so hard, done with it being so exhausting, done with feeling like nobody's there to help you or support you, even though you've spent your entire life being there for everybody else. You deserve it too. Okay. All right. That's it for today, guys. Self-care is not reserved just for Sundays. It's for every single day. And I hope that you remember that and take that in. I will see you next week. Bye for now. Again, my name is Karen Del Maestro. I'm your health and transformation coach. And feel free to send me a message over on Instagram at Karen, KARINDEL 34. Have an awesome week, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.